people who have been involved in the WFTO project, working with women in various developing countries. Carol Wills, whom we all know very well, Elaine Jones, and they will bring two people with them, Malama Yalwar from Sabala in India, and Josephine Mukas from Nauvoo in Uganda.
Very grateful to the organisers of the conference to have this opportunity to present on the topic of whether fair trade is developing benefits to women. And by design, this is not a coincidence that we are here at this conference in Mombasa, because it was 2 years ago that WFTO began a project under the heading of Millennium Development Goal 3 with 5 country networks who are members of the World Fair Trade Organization, and we launched that project in Kathmandu 2 years ago. The project was a 2-year duration, and so we're actually in the final stages of that project as we meet here today. So in fact, to inform our presentation, we've taken the findings from this research to present back to you about whether or not we found from our research with our country partners whether or not fair trade is delivering results for women. Just a word about what WFTO is, because it won't be familiar to most of you. WFTO is an international action research policy network made up of membership-based organisations of informal workers, of individuals working in non-governmental organisations and international development organisations, and of researchers. So as I said, this began with 5 country fair trade networks. We were working with Uganda, Tanzania and Kenya in Africa, and Nepal and India in Asia, and in Latin America with Mexico and Nicaragua. And we've had the opportunity to bring a delegation from each of the 5 country networks who are represented here today to actually have a workshop prior to this conference in which we've been sharing and disseminating our learning. The objective of this research was to show how when women are organised in groups, that they are able to access markets and experience positive change, both in terms of their economic status, but also socially, politically and culturally. So, as I say, we're going to present our findings under 4 headings. We're going to talk about women in relation to the fair trade movement as a whole. We're going to talk about at the level of fair trade organisations. We're going to talk about women in grassroots producer organisations engaged in fair trade markets. And finally, we're going to talk about the advocacy agenda which has emerged from this action research. And I'm going to hand over now to Josephine.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are all welcome. From Uganda, now we participated in this WFTO project, and as we are trying to analyze the situation at the moment, we realized that at the global level, that is at the World Fair Trade Organization level, there are a number of principles, and one of the principles, which is number 6, looks at gender, but in terms of discrimination and equal pay. Somehow it is hidden within that discrimination term, and you find that it doesn't bring out clearly the gender equity. And you find that somehow at this level we need to spell out exactly what does the World Fair Trade Organization trying to do for gender and the equity. So we recommended that, or feel that the World Fair Trade Organization need to spell out explicitly the gender policy, and possibly this gender policy will be able to support the decision making, it will be able to support the participation, it will be able to support education for opportunity rights, and possibly there is need for affirmative action. Thank you.
I'm from India. I'm working for Sabala Organization for Empowerment, and I'm a part of Fated Forum India, and I'm executive committee member of Fated Forum India. I'm so happy to be here as a part of WFTO project, and since 2 years, a lot of researches has been done by the WFTO team, and there are results we would like to present in front of you. Money deliberately targeted women. Historically, this was because they were understood to be the poorest. It was also because they make up over 80% of the producers of handcrafted products and provide up to 90% of the labor in agriculture. Women's work remains undervalued, unrecognized as work and underpaid. It is still perceived as a secondary activity even when women is the main source of income. For example, weaving. Most of the cases, men will do the weaving, whereas women is to do a lot of work before the weaving starts. That is not considered as a skilled work. And pottery also. The main pottery work will be done by the men, but the mud preparation and all will be done by the women. There is a need for a change in positioning to recognize women as skilled workers in the informal economy, making a significant contribution to the household and the national economy. Thank you.
When it came to the premise that organization is the key to transformation and change, we did indeed find through our research that women have experienced that in their economic situation and in their position and situation as women workers in the informal sector. We discovered that women organize themselves in a number of different ways, in self-help groups, in cooperatives, in associations. What we haven't yet completed is our analysis of why some of these work better than others. But in terms of the fair trade link, what is hugely important is the work that many of you here do in bringing capacity building support to women's organizations and others in financial management, business skills development, organizational development, and of course, critically, product design and development and support. And of course, without continuity of orders, groups can fall apart because it's the work based on the orders that is the glue that holds them together. But finally, we were very glad in terms of the organizations to discover more women now represented on boards and committees. And as Yalimar said earlier in our meeting, it's when you have complete women's organizations run by women that you get the real transformational change.
Thank you. So to finish, we just want to draw out some thoughts on advocacy. We found, in terms of analysing the advocacy agenda in regard to women, that obviously it does talk about increasing income for disadvantaged, poor women producers, which is the usual kind of language that is used. But we felt that, and this is coming from our partners, that the image and discourse tends to be of a downtrodden, marginalised woman. And this discourse is often disempowering and doesn't recognise women as workers with rights. Our project partners have identified an agenda for change with specific policy asks for women's economic empowerment, which we would like to feed into the discussion on advocacy this afternoon. And we will also be sharing that with you in terms of the workshops that we'll be running tomorrow afternoon with our partners. And I wanted to finish with this thought from the contextual analysis from Nepal, which I think sums up what we're talking about in terms of this need for a shift in a paradigm shift, both in terms of the way that we talk about women, the way that we see women, and the way that women's agenda should be incorporated into the fair trade agenda. To view the informal sector from a welfare perspective alone is unjust to the informal sector, and I would say to women. More rights-based policies and interventions are essential. The policies should encourage fair trade, community-led economic initiatives and informal economy, as these sectors contribute substantially to the economic development of the country and is directly related to self-empowerment of women, of people, Freudian slip, socially, economically and culturally. And that, I think, is a good thought to end on, and hopefully that will feed into the discussion over the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you.